Business coach and author Manuel Palachuk joins us this week to talk about transforming and nurturing culture in an organization, trending headlines, Manuel's AI tip of the week, and much more. It's Channel Pro Weekly number 260, My Condo on Mars. Hello and welcome to Channel Pro Weekly episode number 260. My name is Matt Whitlock, tech editor here at the Channel Pro Network, and host of this fine program for you in case you're suffering from dementia or some other kind of memory problem. You are a VAR, an MSP, an IT integrator, some kind of IT channel professional, which means you work with technology solutions and computers and networking and all kinds of fun things like that. And if that doesn't sound like you, then, well, I guess stick around and maybe you'll be interested in what you hear anyway, because we got a really cool guest on today. So welcome back, one and all. We have an amazing guest, a longtime friend of Channel Pro Weekly, one who's been on many times in before. So it will be a treat for many of you to catch up with our guest and see what he's up to and to take part of our topic today. And who is that guest? Well, he's got 40 years of customer service experience and 20 in leadership programs. He's taken teams to top-level honors in their competitions, countless organizations to next-level success. He's positioned at the intersection of culture, strategy, leadership, and transformation is his work. He's also got a book, his first book, Getting to the Next Level, which is a culture-centric framework that redefines how companies should approach their business strategy development. Yes, it is him indeed. Please welcome the one, the only, the fabulous Manuel Palachuk. Welcome, Manuel.
Hey, it's always nice to be here. It's really glad to be back for your reload too.
Yeah, it's awesome. I had a few names at the very top of my list of people that I wanted to have back on, and you are absolutely towards the top of that list. And it was awesome because we got a chance to see you at a Baltimore event very recently, or not at our Baltimore, in Orlando, at our event that we had there a few weeks ago. So let's say we've got some new listeners and some new viewers. Manuel, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, aside from what you threw out there, yeah, like you say, it's 40 years in the computer and electronics and technology industry. I've owned several companies and I coach companies all over the world. And I'm actually working on a second book, which is also actually more laser focused on culture, called The Culture Imperative. And that's actually the keynote that I gave at the Orlando event, which I think was really well attended. And I think it was really well received. I think it went smooth, and it was a lot of people got good content out of it, by the way.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate to hear that. And it was a great keynote. And that's one of the things that inspired me to get you on here early, because your keynote talked a lot about culture in a very interesting and unique way that really hit home at the very end, and you really get it. So it's some really cool stories. Tell us a little. We're not going to go through that whole keynote, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about kind of what that presentation was?
I guess the easiest way to put it is it's a cautionary tale about the cost of getting your culture wrong and how to get it right. And it focuses on a true to life story that I went through, an experience I had that kind of opened my eyes as to what the key elements of culture need to be, and it helped me also clarify what I call the four cornerstones of culture: vision, mission, values, and the human element that every organization has. And it's whether or not they nurture it or not, and whether it turns out to be what they're trying to get it to become in their organization, or it kind of grows from the bottom like weeds and they just get what you get, you know.
Right. And that story kind of focused on some pirates as examples. There were some stories there about pirates.
The pirates are thrown in because I'm a sailor. Anybody that follows me on social media knows I'm working on a sailboat. I'm working on my captain's license. And I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. I'm a pirate that just turned 60 myself, right? And pirates have a place in my life, in my what I love to watch and what I love to read about. But there's a story to be told about culture. So I lead off with comparing two pirates: the most successful pirate in the world's history, which most people don't know, and the least successful pirate in history, and the big difference between those two organizations. And the reason I focus on it is I start with that because the idea is it doesn't matter how big or small your organization is, and it doesn't matter whether you're out to take over the world or save the world. Culture matters. and even in these pirate organizations from hundreds of years ago, culture was there, and all of these elements were there. And if it was nurtured, they were very successful, and if it wasn't, they were very unsuccessful. And then in the keynote, a reason I bring it up initially is so that I can circle around at the end and kind of drive that home that, again, it doesn't matter how big your organization is, how small it is, whether you're out to take over the world, like pirates, or you're out to save the world, culture matters.
It does. I think it's been a very overlooked aspect of running a business for quite a long time. It seems like business owners often just look at their employees like cogs in a big wheel, but culture is getting a lot more attention these days than it had been prior. Why do you think that is?
Well, I was reading an article, I don't remember what magazine it was in. They were talking about the bygone era. Your dad, my dad, your grandpa, they worked in a factory, and they were told, if you work for 20 years, you're going to, the company's going to take care of you. You're going to have a pension, all of that. Well, in the 80s and the 90s, those corporations canceled pensions, stole the money, and told everybody, too bad, you're sad. Sorry, you worked for, 20 years. You're not getting anything, right? You're not going to go watch. You're not getting a retirement plan. And so the dedication to an organization back then came from not only, well, it's a good place to work, would be nice. It pays a good wage, is nice. But if I do my 20 years, I get a retirement plan. And now in today's world, like we saw it through the pandemic, it was very prolific. People are walking away from an organization going, look, I'm not just a gear to be ground down to nothing, right? I'm out of here. And I'm not going to do that kind of work. And we still have the same problem with the wage gap all over the United States, not just between men and women, but I mean, just the wage gap of people that work in a restaurant, people that sweep up driveways and clean toilets, and, the corporate, Illuminati. It's so far apart, it's ridiculous. So the organizations are like, how do we get people to be sticky? How do we get them to, to pull them in? We can't pay them any more money. Well, and then people have found, I think even the young that are coming along today have looked at that past all the way from their grandparents, our parents, us, and went, well, there's no company that's going to really just take care of me and give me a pension, right? Those things are gone. So now I want to work for a company that I enjoy working for, and they actually have to care about me. And that's where culture comes from. And so they go, okay, I need the wage. I need to feel like I belong. Need to feel like the company cares about me, that I'm part of something. And I'll be more fulfilled if I do those things. Now, again, we still have this problem of restaurants. A big chain might have a motto, and they might pull in employees and go, hey, it's great to work at Chuck E. Cheese, or, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if they don't pay them well, they're not going to stick around. But, and so we still have this problem at this certain level. But I guess you'd say, not necessarily white collar, but you start to look at more structured jobs that have a more logical process, that it's not just a service industry for restaurants and things like that. These people are looking to belong to something, to be part of something, and that's culture, right? And that means that the organization's got to be able to articulate to them why they should come to work for them. Okay, I'm going to offer you good, salary, benefits, etc., but there's no pension. There's no big pension out there anymore, right? If you put some money away in a 401k, we might match it if you're a really big corporation. But other than that, so what are they going for? They're going for something that they could say, I will work at a job that I feel fulfilled for 20 years, and I'll accept a reasonable wage, and I'll take care of my own pension. And, I think that's really the way it looks to me.
So where does culture start, right? So let's say that you're running a business and you want to bring in the right people, because there's I think more to culture than just working 20 years and doing a retirement plan. There's also like intercompany culture, and that's important.
Yeah, I mean, the retirement plan, all that, those are just benefits. But the culture that I was referring to was that the organization is saying, you're part of the family, we're going to take care of you. And that was the tip of the spear in the culture. There's a book by Jim Collins called Good to Great, and he talks about first who and then what. And he talks about getting all the right people, talented people, really skilled people, then figure out what you're going to go do, get the right people in the right seats on the bus. And that was 40 years ago, maybe 50 years ago. And today, we need the right people. But the problem is they're not just going to show up and say, I do great stuff and you look, you need great people. They want to belong to something. So culture today, even back then, it came from the top. It has to come from the top down. If you don't, you get what grows from the bottom up, weeds and all, right? And so if you say, my vision is this, and I think that's what the world would look great if we could do that. Do you want to help me with that, Matt? And somebody goes, yeah, nah. Or they go, God, man, I want to be part of that. Like, right? I don't know what the vision for, Tesla Corporation, their SpaceX is, but it attracts people because they want to see that happen. Vision. And then there's the mission, the daily march, right? And so vision, mission, values, the human element, they've got to be defined by the organization and maybe influenced as far as values and some of the mission, but certainly the culture by the people that join the organization. But it still has to be cared for and cultured and nurtured like a garden by the people from the top of the organization to get what they want and to make the best cohesive fit. And so people show up for the vision. They got to decide if they're up for the mission. They need to adhere to the values. And then they bring their own human element, their geekiness or their creativity or whatever else it is. And when those people gel and meld, you get a team that's just really hard to beat, And so, yeah, it's got to come from the top. Otherwise, you get what grows from the bottom.
Yeah, you use the words vision and mission, and those are often thought of as the same thing, but they're not, at least according to the keynote presentation that I heard. What's the difference between those two?
So first I'll say smaller organizations and maybe even some medium and large size, I'm okay with them having a combined vision mission statement. But when you're not clear on the difference or what the statement should be, I say, look, break it apart because it is two distinct things. Vision is, what would the world look like if we were successful at what we're out to do? Again, SpaceX. Don't know what they're out to do, but let's say they're out to, conquer the Mars, right? Get a man on Mars and make it that you can have a condo on Mars and we can travel back and forth. That's a great vision. And that's what the world would look like. What would it look like? Wow, it'd be cool. You could buy a ticket, you get on a ship. When you get off the ship, you get into your condo on Mars. Holy smokes, that's a vision. What's the mission? Well, the mission is what we as an organization have to do every day and strive for to make the goals of getting that rocket to not only launch, but to come back down and land straight up and down without blowing up. And all of the things that come along with that. So to me, it's very clear. Vision is what the world would look like if we're successful at our endeavor. The mission is the 20-mile march, the thing we got to do every day to get that vision to come true. And if you can keep those two separate in how you understand them, go ahead and come up with a combined vision, mission statement, call it mission statement, call it vision, I don't care. But realize those two are different because people buy into a vision more than they buy into a mission. Hey, Matt, you up for rowing 20 miles a day? And you're like, no, not so much. Okay. Hey, Matt, you want to win a gold medal in rowing for people over, 40, in this particular type of boat? And you go, I could do that. Okay. Here's what we got to do, though. You got to row 20 miles a day. And you got to be, so when you see the vision, you buy into that. And then you realize and decide internally if you're up for the mission. So again, you can make a combined statement, but you better be clear and be able to articulate the two because people, you're going to get them on board with the vision. You got to decide if they're up for the mission. And, that's the way I look at it. That's why I refer to them as the cornerstones, right? Those are two of the cornerstones.
Right. So let's say a business owner is able to do that and able to put out a good vision, a good mission statement and foster that culture with that team. What are some of the things that they need to do to protect that culture over time, right? Because I'm sure we've all seen examples of businesses that lose that culture and ultimately suffer the consequences.
Yeah, biggest problem with large organizations, conveying the vision and mission to the bottom level team the people on the boots on the ground. Why? Because the boots on the ground are just monkey grinders, and we just need to pay somebody to show up and push a button on a machine at a Toyota plant or whatever. And it's really hard to go, hey, you buy into this vision? Look, if you pay me $20 an hour, I'll buy into anything you want. I don't care. Well, okay, but I need you to care about the product that we're making and why we're doing it. So you go look at companies like Zappos. Always one of my favorite. You go look at their site and read what they have for vision and mission and values and human element. And it's really pretty cool. And they attract people that want to be good at customer service. They believe in the vision, they believe in the mission, they adhere to the values, and they bring the human element. So to your question, if your leadership, you have constantly got to be telling people and reminding them what the vision is and why we're out to do this. You've got to constantly be doing a check, quarterly reviews and all of that, and communications with your employees about the mission and whether they're fit to do it, whether we're asking the right thing of the right people, keeping them in the right position, that kind of thing. That's human resource management of the people to see to it that we're making the best use of them and that they're in the best place that they could be successful at. And to succeed at the mission. But the way you protect it is you put in the other two cornerstones, the values, right? You put in the other two cornerstones, and the values are the next one. And they are, let's say, family matters, integrity, accountability, custodianship. And you define what those mean. And then values to me, you can have a list of values, but I want you to have values that you will hire and fire on. So now what you've got is I got somebody who's bought into the vision, they follow the mission, but their values are not in alignment with us. And you either got to get them to in alignment with your values, or you have to let them go. And the values you pick have to be ones that you're willing to say, if that employee is not willing to live up to that value of integrity in the way they communicate with other people or with the customer or in the work product that they do, we're going to let them go. And that's how you protect it. Number one is that those values. And you hire on it. You evaluate people. There are cognitive assessments and all these others. You can get a kind of a feel. You're never really going to know somebody's true values until you're faced with adversities. But largely, you hire on these believing that they've got them. But the minute you notice they don't, you've either got to get them in line or get rid of them. And then the last one is the culture. The last cornerstone of the culture is the human element. The human element is, we hire people that are geeky. We'd like to hire people that are just like to fix stuff. Let's say we're an IT company, right? And once you start building a group of people like that, you are best off. You're going to have a different group of people in accounting, a different group of people in human resources. They're all going to bring a little different human element, but you nurture that human element by feeding in people that are like that, and you can hire on that. Again, personality assessments, having the entire team interview somebody, go, the guy's kind of a stiff board. He's not really very geeky. He's really not like us. We can tell. Well, then he doesn't get in or she doesn't get in. And it's a hard decision because everybody wants to hire a warm body. I just need somebody to fill the position. Well, that's a whole nother problem. You can only grow your organization as fast as you can find quality people that fit into your organization. And if you want to hire fast and do that, then you're going to get what you get. The weeds are going to grow from the bottom. But if you want to protect it, they've got to align with the values and adhere to them. And they've got to fit into the human element that exists and that is driving and that you like and is moving in the right direction. And like weeds in a garden, you've got to cull those that don't fit in line. And usually they reveal themselves over time. They don't like to get along with people. They don't believe in the values. They're not, they kind of that some of them will self-prune, some of them see the writing on the wall, others you just got to get rid of. But that's all human resources and that kind of thing.
Is that where a lot of business owners fail? Is the culling process?
Yeah, because it goes back to when you're 4-person operation, I want to grow my business. I need somebody that can fix computers and work tickets. Here's the problem, right? We saw this massively in the last 3 years through the pandemic, 4 years. I just need somebody to actually show up. And I'm going to offer them 20, 25, 26, $30 an hour, $35 an hour. And they show up, they work 2 days and go, I'm not up for this, and they leave. Like, oh my God. So I just need a warm body that will stay. Okay. What are their values? I don't care, as long as they'll show up. And that's where there are a lot of companies, not just IT companies, restaurants, everybody's got the same problem. These people are adhered to a paycheck to pay the rent. There is no big higher calling because there's no vision and mission and values that they buy into. And then it's still also very hard for a small organization to go, hey, we got a great vision, come help us. Yeah, how much do you pay? Well, you don't pay enough for me to care about your vision. So there's this ongoing conundrum. But the problem that small companies have are that they've not even tried to establish the vision, mission, values, and human element, so that once that employee gets in and they got their warm body, they can at least cultivate them and go, look, the more you buy into this, the better we do, the more ingrained you become, the more you get paid. You see what I mean? And so their downfall is, I just need a warm body. I'm just trying to get to the next level. I don't believe I need a vision and a mission and a value statement. I'm too small. Okay, good luck with that.
So let's say you convince someone that who thought that they were too small, and now are thinking, holy moly, I really need to get on this and deal with this. How would you recommend they start? What do they need to focus on first?
Well, in order, it's vision, it's mission, it's values, and the human element. The vision, you got to sit down and go, what are we out to do? You know, the funny part is, I got to stay with IT example, small companies. Why did you leave that organization and go out and start your own business? What made you think that you were going to do anything bigger, better, or badder than anybody else in your little pond? That's where you've got to start. Well, I knew that I could provide better customer service in the, whatever, Xerox copiers, laptops, desktops, security. Okay. And by the way, I don't want to make this sound simple, and it's not. Even for my own organization, when I went out to become a coach a dozen years ago, me and my wife walked on the beach, and I thought about, I ruminated, I wrote it down, and we talked on the beach for months and months until I had formulated my vision statement. And it's going to be the same. You've got to really think it out. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to talk to your wife, your spouse, your dog, your friends, and you got to go, what would the world look like if I were successful at my little organization? And what's it capable of? And sometimes it is as simple as the best white glove service for IT people, so our clients, so that they can work on their business, not in their business. Right? There you go. You take that and derive it, do whatever you want to with it, but you gotta think about what it is. What made you decide you were going to go into business in the first place? Because if you just say, I can make more money that way, keep going. Good luck with that. You're not going to make it. You're going to hit an impasse. And there is an impasse. Without the culture being defined, you're only going to get so far. You have 20 employees, but they're never going to row in the same direction and move in the cohesive way that you need them to evolve and grow to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, right? And so you either get it done now, and then you've got a chance that if you hire 1 or 2 people and they buy into it, they'll be with you for 3, 5, and 7 years, not 6 months, 12 months, 9 months. Yeah, they need the compensation. But when somebody feels like they belong to something, it's really powerful. You'd be surprised what they'll put up with.
If someone was unsure on really how to proceed or how to do it, is this something that a business coach like you would help with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Please. Oh, God. I had one client. I worked with him for a long time, and I seeded this. So then one day he hired a guy that said he was going to come in and help them figure out their vision statement and their value statement. $45,000 later, they had developed a vision statement and values. 6 months after that, he said, we got to go back to the drawing board because one of the people on the leadership team wasn't the right person for the team. Their values were out of line. And so we created values based on the team we had. And now we need to create values based on the team we have now, not the team we had then. And I'm like, oh, you're going to hire the same guy to come in and whiteboard with you for 45,000 because I got time, right? But I, you know, I would say it doesn't need to take that long and you shouldn't pay that much money. Really follow the simple process and know it isn't about us talking and whiteboarding it. Yeah, there's some of that, but there's the part where you just got to ruminate and think, what are you out to do? Right? What is it your little business is going to do? And it can be a simple answer. And it can be the same answer as the guy down the road that does the same thing as you. Because two small businesses can have the same vision and they're each going to get their own market share and they're all going to grow and be just fine. Right?
Awesome. Well, that's very interesting topics. It's great advice. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of insight in the book that you're working on. You don't have an estimated release date for that book yet, do you?
Yes, certainly before I'm 70. So no, it will be this year, and I'm really hoping for actually be able to get it in your hands by the end of the summer. I have to not only finish it, I'm actually going to do something different with this book. I'm actually going to try and get some corporate sponsorship in the sense of actually submitting it to really big publishers, just in case somebody might accidentally be willing to say, yeah, make some adjustments here, and then yeah, we'll publish it. So it's going to have a little bit longer process than self-publishing, but more importantly, also need to have some people. I'm going to go through a little bit more of a rigorous pre-reading. Like if you want to read the book, you get on the list. And because I did that with my first book and it really gave me some really good feedback. I'm going to make sure that that's done right for this book because people need to be able to understand it, receive it well. And so, yeah, maybe at the end of the summer, you should be able to swipe your card and get that book.
Well, fantastic. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll make sure that we mention when that book is out. We are going to take a short break, though, when we come back. I know, Manny, a lot of people want to hear about what you're working on with your boat, and I got a few other questions to ask, and we'll have a little bit of fun. So stick around, folks. We will be right back. And we are back now with part 2 of this episode of ChannelPro Weekly. Manuel Palachuk is still with us here for this segment. Excited to still have him with us. So Manny, we've talked about a lot of things, and it was a great first segment. But the one thing that you mentioned that I know everyone is dying to know, especially those who've been listening or watching for a long time, are curious to get an update on how your large project is going, which is the boat that you've been restoring over the last. I know it probably feels like 10 years, but I think it's been like the last 4 or 5. So what's going on with the boat? I know you're close, right?
Yeah, it's actually been just a little over 4 years. And probably the biggest update is that we're ready to sail. The boat, when I got it, it's a ketch, which is supposed to have 2 masts. And the aft mast, the mizzen mast, was non-existent. It was gone. It had been basically torn off probably in a hurricane. So I had to go buy a similar dimension spar, the mast itself, and then fit it to that boat. I had to go buy I basically tore it down, painted it, put all the hardware on it, bought and sized all the cables, and then we took it down and we just got that installed at the end of the year last year, which seems like yesterday. And it's literally taken until the day before yesterday to get all of the rigging tuned, because the 2 masts there's a cable that runs between them, and then they're all the what are called halyard, or all the running rig or standing rigging, guy wires basically, and they've all got to be set and adjusted, and everything's got to be in tune. Well, all that got done this last weekend, and then I just took receipt of a new head sail, which is the sail all the way at the front of the boat, called a jib. Yesterday showed up. So I'm going to go down this weekend and fit it. And if it fits and everything's good, we're going to take this thing out for the first time sailing probably in the next week or so. And it's been, I think we've probably been close to sailing for about 4 months, but it's always one more little thing. Well, we're done with all the little things. It is literally time to push off from the dock and go take it sailing. And now there's still all these other little things, fine, what they call bright work, all the teak has to be oiled, and there's a new top deck. The top deck has to get a new coat of paint, that kind of thing. Also, I had boat's supposed to have what's called the lifelines, the stanchions, and what's called a stern rail. It's a stainless steel tubular mechanism that basically keeps people from falling off the back of the boat. And on the sides, there are a bunch of stanchions, and then there are these nylon-coated stainless cables that run from front to back. Most of that was either gone or bent up. Again, probably because the mizzen mast, when it came down, broke it. So we had to clear all that out. We had to install new bases for the stanchions, and we've been working at that. And I had to fabricate a new, what's called a stern rail, and it probably took about a month, but that's been done. And I kind of had to learn I taught myself to weld stainless using TIG welding. And I never knew how to do this before, but I started practicing, and I basically ended up having to do it myself because I couldn't get anybody to come down and do it. Like for years, I had ads in the paper. I had people that said they'd show up. Nobody would show up. So I had to fabricate this myself, basically. And so I did. And
so that's amazing. So of all the things that you can end up having to learn throughout a new project like that, something like welding is a very interesting new skill to pick up, right? What other kind of skills did you have to kind of teach yourself as you did a project like this?
Well, it's the 21st century, right? So you got the internet. So first, I already knew how to do basic welding with what's called a wire feed. It's easy, right? You hook it up, you put a mask on, you point the little gun, you pull the trigger, the wire comes out, and it spits, when you heat two pieces of metal up and it fills in. That's easy. But TIG welding on stainless is more of an art, and it's a really beautiful art. You use a tungsten rod and a gas shield, and you basically heat the metal and fill in, more like soldering. And it's super clean. Like you could probably TIG weld in a tuxedo and not get anything on you, right? Whereas the other kind of welding, stick welding and wire feed, is a lot of sparking and splattering and what they call slag everywhere, right? But TIG welding is really nice. And so on stainless, you start out and you make these horrible, ugly welds, and it's not clean and all of that. And then you watch a video, and then you practice some more, and then you watch a video and you practice some more. And at some point you get a knack for it, and then you're just laying it down, and that's it. And so I went through a lot of practice. I probably spent upgrading my welder and some other equipment, probably about $700 in upgrading equipment. And over the course of about a year and a half, there's some little things I did. But then when I went to do the rails, I'd already gotten all my practice in, and it was a lot easier. And I probably saved myself, it probably would have cost me $3,000 to have somebody come out and fabricate that. And so now I know how to do it. I'm actually going to do what's called the bow rail, which is a whole lot easier unit, but I'm going to do the bow rail myself. And there was a guy who quoted me like $2,400, right, for the bow rail 2.5 years ago. He never got back to me. And he quoted me, took my deposit, and never got back to me. So I'm like, okay. I went and saw him, and he's like, yeah, I haven't got it finished. I said, just, okay, we're out. I'm out here. Thanks anyway. So I'm going to probably start on that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's a fun thing, I think. Now that I do it, I like working with stainless steel. It's pretty neat.
Wow, that's cool. Well, hey, I guess if you ever need another skill to fall back on for work, welding is in high demand, from what I understand.
Down here, if you can be a rigger, run up and down the mast and do the stanchions and the lines and everything, that stuff really well. Or if you know stainless steel welding, you'll never be out of a job, right?
Wow. Well, I think last thing on the book, because I remember you were talking to me in Orlando about the sails and how you had to do a lot of work with the sails. So you had to do a lot of sewing, and what were some of the things you had to do to prepare for that?
So the sails, there are these things called slides that slide into the boom and slide up the mast, and so that it can move, and you can take it off. You can basically drop the sail, and these slides run up and down the mast. Well, where they attach, or the sail itself, can have some wear. And if it's been sitting for a while, stuff just needs to be repaired. So I got a old school heavy duty solid steel part sewing machine. It doesn't have any plastic gears, because like a modern sewing machine would just break. You have to have either a machine that's specifically designed to do sails, or get one of the old school Singers that's solid steel parts, so that when the gear turns, the needle goes through, right? If it doesn't, it either bends the needle or something breaks. Basically, they're that strong. And so you basically apply a patch, or some of it's hand sewn straps and things like that. And it's just the maintenance that you kind of got to do if you own a sailboat, or you go wait and take it to the sail repair shop, right? And they're so backlogged. That's another thing. Like, those guys will never, ever be out of business, right? And they're 6 months backed up. I'm not going to wait 6 months to have somebody sew a little patch on my sail, right? I mean, so that's the kind of stuff you do, not all the time, but once it's set up and it's done, every once in a while you do a patch here and there. But there's a lot of sails. There's 4 sails on the boat, so it's
a lot. I know that you've basically built this boat from almost back up from the ground up, all the woodwork, all the framing, all the interior stuff. It's got to be very exciting to be just right on the edge of being done, or I don't know, or are you ever done?
Oh, well, you're never done. And so we didn't rebuild everything on the inside. All the woodwork was in good shape. We just had to fix some stuff, like the cockpit or the cabin sole, when you come down the gangway, was delaminated because there was water sitting in it. So I had to redo all of the floor pieces, which is it's teak and holly inlay. And so it's like strips of 3-inch wide of teak, or 2.5 inches wide of teak, and a 3/8 inch wide of holly. Right. And so it's basically this wood that you custom fit into the floorboards. We had to peel all the old stuff up, put all the new stuff in. We had to make some modifications, but everything else is really just getting, replacing hinges, sanding stuff, getting the old oil off of things, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I put a new motor in it. We took and cleaned the bilge out completely, pulled all the tanks out, scoured the bilge and painted it. We've been through that boat, had it hauled out. We did a complete bottom job, put a new propeller on. Yeah, but now, and we've taken it out. We've been able to motor. I got a lot of hours doing that. It's actually pulling the sail up and going under sail power that's a big thing. And it is, I can't wait, but you got to work for a living.
So where is the first place you're gonna sail it to? Not a test sail, but like when you can actually like sail to a destination. Where are you gonna go?
Well, I don't know. There's like, we're on the west coast of the Florida Peninsula, which is the Gulf of Mexico, and we're protected by these barrier islands. So we can sail a long ways up and down for hours and hours, and around in Tampa Bay, and not even leave the protected waters, basically, right? So we'll get a lot of practice in getting used to the sails and everything else. Probably sail around to St. Petersburg, which is a really neat, they got a pier there. We sail around there, probably take about 3 or 4 hours, and then spend the night. But once we decide we're going to go farther than that, we'll probably head down to Naples in Florida, which is just beyond the barrier islands. And then the next step is the Keys, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to? But just a little 50 miles offshore is a place called Cuba. And I don't know. I'm just hoping they can get this stuff figured out and we're allowed to go. But I would absolutely sail to Cuba, right? I could be there in one day, in less than a day, right? So that'd be
Wow.
that'd be
Very cool. Well, that's very exciting, and I hope you give us some pictures. So those who are watching
Oh yeah,
us on YouTube, we'll try to put some pictures in here for you so you can take a look at the project he's working on. But it's been very interesting. I follow Manuel on Facebook, so I get to see a lot of the things he's been doing and posting about it over the years, and it's a fascinating project, a lot of work.
oh yeah.
I'll say,
but you only see a fraction of what we've done. Honestly, like I'll post a thing about what we've done. There's so much.
yeah.
There's thousands and thousands of pictures. It's just ridiculous. But yeah.
I can only imagine a project like this and the amount of effort and time and that's gone into it. So it's a fascinating stuff, and thank you for bringing that as well. But that's not the only thing you have to share with us. Normally every week we kind of do a fun segment or a tech pick of the week, but Manuel's got something a little bit different in store for us today. It's an AI tip of the week, or hack of the week, or suggestion of the week. So Manuel, what do you got in store for us?
So I know everybody's talking about AI and their, the possibilities and the potential for harm and all this other stuff. But on the other side, if you just relax a little and realize AI's got some really cool things that you can do with it. And obviously a lot of people are using it for marketing, right? We were using ChatGPT, its sister program called DALL-E to create graphics. And it's always funny if you've never tried it. You tell it to describe, make a picture of this, somebody doing this thing. And it sends a picture and you're like, okay, why does that guy have two hands? One's holding the briefcase and one is straight out, right? Why does that person have 6 fingers on their hand, right? You've probably seen it's trending. Somebody took the picture of he who used to be president praying kneeling down praying, and they added a 6th finger and said, basically said to say that it was, AI generated. But that's neat. But you can also I use a product called Bard, which has now been renamed to, I can't remember what it's called, but I had this idea about my ideas around leadership and culture. And I'm watching a movie and I went, wow, what can you learn about leadership and culture, like from the movie Goonies? And I started sending myself emails to remind myself to write that out and think about that, right? And then AI comes along and I got a bunch of emails like, what can you learn about the movie or learn about leadership and culture from the movie, Star Wars, and just all the cult favorites, or just the movie I happen to be watching. I look at it and go, wow, there's a lesson in here. So I got this whole list of these ones that I want to write up, and it'll take me a million years to do. So I went, well, wait a minute, let me get some help from AI. So I went to Bard and I said, tell me what you can learn about leadership and culture from the warlord Thanos. And if you're not familiar with Thanos, he's a warlord from the Avengers, from the Marvel's world. And it dumps out this whole stuff about his leadership style is authoritarian, he's tyrannical, he's a micromanager, his organizational culture is fear-based, ruthlessness, and very centralized, right? And it goes on to talk about his vision and his focus. So I said, okay, that's really cool. So then I found this site that uses AI to create a what do you call it? An infographic. So I went, okay, I'll create me an infographic that shows the top 3 lessons you can learn about leadership and culture from Star Wars. And so it gave me this graphic that the images they used weren't really quite exactly spot on, and the wording wasn't great, but the layout, the format was like, holy smokes. So now all I got to do is go get the right pictures for my Thanos question and stuff them in here and put in the wording I want, rewrite it so that it's my wording and based on the research I did using AI. And I got an infographic. And then from there I can write, do a video, or I can do whatever. But I think that if you endear, if you kind of look at what AI can do for you and not worry so much about, the dark side of things, it's really pretty cool how it can help you take an idea and make it something you never even thought, right? I mean, I could tell it to make me a script to tell a story about this in 6 minutes or less, and it would literally give me a script, and I could just read it into the camera and say, here's what you can learn about leadership and culture from Thanos, blah, 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 right? I'd rather just make it my own and put my own words in, but the structure of it, what it gives me is really cool. I will also say I went on, I thought, well, wait a minute, what else is there? So after it finished answering the question about what you can learn about leadership and culture from Thanos, I said, what could he have done differently to keep his daughters on the team and focus on the vision? And the reason I thought about that was because if you know who Thanos is, he's got 2 daughters, right? Both of them, one of them I know he absconded from, he had, destroyed a planet and everybody on it and kept her as almost like a prize, and adopted her, right? The other one, I don't know where he got her from, Nebula, but she's basically, he used her for experimental on cyborg, experiments, and you could consider her a disgruntled employee. So I said, what could he have done differently to keep his daughters focused on or his daughters on the team and focused on the vision? And it comes back with, it says open communication and a shared vision, empathy and respect, focus on the why, positive relationships, alternatives and compromise. And it gives this whole list of things. So I'm like, okay, one last question then. what specific learning opportunities arise from his relationship and interactions with his daughter. And it gives me this whole list of bullet items. And I'm thinking, you could literally just write, I mean, I could probably do, 45 minutes worth of little mini videos and, break it into 4 or 5 sections, 4 or 5 different infographics. And that's just one movie, right? And if you think about how you could apply that to, I don't know, whatever your marketing thing is, whatever message you want to get across, I got to tell you, I think it's a pretty cool trick. And I think, AI is not, you're still got to proof it. You still got to put it into your own words. But what it can do for you between graphics, infographics, getting your message right, or doing the research for you, I think is just infinitely powerful. And I think it's a lot of fun, right? I think if people look at it, not only can they figure out how to let it help them in their business, but they can have some fun at it too.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you could do all kinds of interesting movies. I'd be very curious to hear what it would say about culture and thought leadership of the movie. I don't know, like Caddyshack, or what are some other ones that might be interesting?
Yeah, or Animal House, right?
Animal House might be a good one.
I
Happy Gilmore.
Oh God, yeah, Happy Gilmore, yeah, right, yeah. What's Tony Robbins? He's big on internal motivation. Like, what can you learn about internal motivation from the movie Happy Gilmore, right? But I don't know what you're going to get from Caddyshack or Animal House. I'm sure that it could come, but you know what? I got nothing. But I bet you AI does. I bet you AI would find the message in it, right?
Yeah, just don't run through any Pauly Shore movies, or it will actually melt down and the internet
Right?
will be destroyed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Well, that's a very good tip. It's very interesting, and I hope that you keep going on that. But unfortunately, we are close to being out of time. But I want to make sure we get time to hit our news segment. So for those who've been listening or watching for a long time, this is your first show back with us. We're not spending a lot of time on news here on Channel Pro Weekly these days. We're focusing more on the interviews and some of the topics that we're covering there. But it doesn't mean we want you to kind of know what's going on in the news. We want you to make sure that you go and check out the site. So we've got a few stories that have come up in the last week, and that's one is the human firewall, which is cybersecurity's first line of defense, is the headline there. So that's a good cybersecurity story for you to check out. We've got why culture means the most to Wheaton's John Allberg in business. So we've been talking on this show a lot about culture. So there's another article there to get a different perspective on culture and why that's important. You might want to go and check that out. And we also have staying ahead of competitors amid economic uncertainty by prioritizing value add resources and relationships. So those are a few headlines there. We've got a bunch of press releases we've done this week as well. Lots of stuff there to go check it out. So channelpronetwork.com is the site you want to go and check out those headlines there. Of course, if you're listening, open up the description area on your podcast app, and we'll put all the links to those stories in there as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, all the different things you got to do on YouTube. But we'll put the links in the description area there on YouTube as well for you to go and check out. Also, we've got a lot of events coming up here in the very near future. In fact, we're going to be in Baltimore for Channel Pro Live here on May 15th and 16th. We got a great schedule of stuff going there. A lot of good sessions, a lot of great speakers that will be presenting there. We've got a session on AI, which I'll be leading. Let's see. We've got an opening keynote, buy, build, or sell, how to chart your MSP's future direction, time, or exit properly and maximize value, promoting IT professionalism. Those are just on the pre-day session. We've got a great cocktail party and reception for everybody on that day. Ways to improve AI, secrets to onboarding client success, product and services, expo. 5 strategies for winning bigger accounts. Lots of great sessions. So if you're anywhere in the northeastern area, come and see us in Baltimore. It's free for qualified attendees. So make sure that you come and check us out there. But if you're not in the Baltimore area, that's okay. We've got more shows all over the country. We're going to be in Columbus on June 5th and June 6th. We're going to be in Charlotte in September. We're going to be in Dallas in October, and LA in November. And of course, we've got our cybersecurity focused event. Channel Pro Defend is what it's called. That's going to be in August in Island, New Jersey. 2 days of cybersecurity content. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to we did it last year in LA, and it was a huge hit. Great show. make sure that you come and check us out. Events.channelpronetwork.com is where you want to go, or scan the QR code up on the screen here and make sure you register. It's going to be a great thing for you, and you'll learn a lot for your business. So with that, we're going to say goodbye to Mr. Palachuk. Manny, thank you so much for coming on and joining us for this episode. Anything else you'd like to add, or where can people go and learn more about you, and where can they find you?
They can find me at manuelpalachuk.com. All they got to be able to do is spell my name correctly. It's always a pleasure being here. It's always fun to chat with you guys. I can't wait to talk about the next thing, whatever that is. And I will probably see you guys at one of the events in this year, at least one.
I hope so. Yep. And you're on all the socials. Same thing for all the socials.
Yeah, at Manuel Palachuk. That's it. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah, all of them.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, and I'm sure we'll have you back again sometime down the road, of course. And I appreciate you doing one of the comeback episodes here on.
Yeah,
I'm
glad you're reloading it. I think it's going to be great.
I think so too. I really appreciate that. ChannelProNetwork.com is the website to go to. Make sure you bookmark it, set it as your homepage. Go there each and every day for all the latest stories, news, articles, white papers, resources, all kinds of great things that will help you with your business. And of course, subscribe to Channel Pro Weekly on all of the different podcast apps. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. I don't know. We're on all of them. So just make sure that you go there, find it, subscribe. If you can, leave a rating or a nice review. Always helps a little bit. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, again, like I said, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell. I don't know. YouTube makes you clear all the different things to make things happen. But do all of those things, and of course, if you can leave a good comment or review there, appreciate it. If you have any suggestions for the show, podcast at channelpronetwork.com is the email address to reach us at. Love to get your thoughts. Any topics you want us to cover, we will read those and take all those in advisement. Or if you have any good comments you want to share with us, please do that. But with that, we will part ways for now, but we'll be back next week, and we'll have a lot more for you. So make sure you tune in. See you then.